DocTalk is brought to you by Multimin USA, manufacturers of Multimin 90, sure trace mineral supplementation by timed injection.
Hi there and welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson here at the College of Veterinary Medicine at Kansas State University, and today I'm going to be joined by Dr. Greg Hanselchek, who is the Director of Production Animal Field Investigation here at the Veterinary Diagnostic Laboratory at Kansas State University. We're going to be talking today about milk, and we're going to be talking about milk safety, and we'll be talking about mastitis in dairy cows. We're sure glad you joined us.
We've been using Multimin for about 7 years. It's one of the most multi-use products that we have here on the farm. Bulls, cows, calves, weaning age cattle, just about everything on the place. If they go through the chute, they get a shot of it. The primary use that we started Multimin was in our donor program, in our embryo transplant program. I'd recommend Multimin to any producer in the cattle business. Here at Deer Valley, every animal that goes through the chute gets a dose of Multimin.
This segment is brought to you by Rotomix, manufactured in the USA and designed for feeding performance in the feedlots, beef production, dairy, and cow-calf operations. Welcome to the show, Dr. Hanselchek.
Glad to be here, Dan.
So your title, Director of Food Animal, Production Animal, Field Investigation here at Kansas State University is kind of a complex and a service type of position here within the state, isn't it?
That's right. There's probably two major parts to my position. One is that if veterinarians come across complex health issues out in the field and they need some expertise from the diagnostic lab, I'm the person that goes out there, helps them investigate these health problems, brings our pathologists in the game and to solve problems for producers.
So really it's one of those things that you have the expertise and the time and the technology to go out and provide a service for the practitioners that maybe don't have the time or up against the wall wanting to know some added expertise maybe on a case.
That's exactly right. And then the second part of my position is I'm the bridge between our experts and bovine practitioners out in the field. So I'm communicating between the two groups.
Boy, it's needed, and sure appreciate you joining us on the show. It's a I think it's important that practitioners and producers understand the position that you're in and the ability to serve and help and make our food supply safe and our animals a little healthier.
And I love my position. There's nothing better that I like than to talk to producers and practitioners out in the field. It's an awesome job.
Yeah, and you do a good job of it. And so today we're gonna get in the show here a little bit and talk about milk production. And I thought it'd be good because not everybody out there that watches the show is dialed in directly with the dairy industry. And so maybe some things, you've been in dairy practice, you've spent a lot of time in dairy situations. What are some of the things as far as the safety of milk that we're doing on a day-to-day basis in the dairy industry?
Well, there's nothing more dear to my heart than the dairy industry, I'll tell you that right now, so I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it. Just for people that don't know is that our milk in the United States is one of the safest foods in the world. And one of the reasons is that every single amount of milk that leaves a dairy farm are tested for three basic things. And one of them is antibiotics. Every load is looked for antibiotics, make sure there's no antibiotics in the load. We also measure the amount of bacteria to make sure that milk is clean. And then the third thing is we measure somatic cell counts, and that's just a basic overall measure of milk quality.
So the somatic cell count is more of a measure of the white blood cells or the cells that are in the milk that are associated with immune response?
That's right. Somatic cell counts are primarily made up of white blood cells. They're there in the milk to counteract any infection or any inflammation. There's some of those somatic cell counts are just normal secretory cells that are sloughed off during the milking process.
Well, I think this is a great topic. Let's take a break here and we'll come back. And when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about the testing that's involved with the bulk tanks and how we make that milk be one of the safest foods in the world.
Sounds good.
You're watching DocTalk, and we're sure glad you joined us.
Got cattle? Rotomix manufactures a complete line of energy-efficient rotary and vertical feed mixers for feedlots, beef production, dairy, and cow-calf operations. Our mixers are available with the patented Generation 2 staggered rotor, the industry standard for feeding wet rations that include wet distiller's grain. Made in the USA, Rotomix mixers are designed for feeding performance that American cattlemen and dairy producers have come to expect. Rotomix, proud to offer a better mix in less time using less fuel.
If our local animal agriculture industry disappeared, what else would disappear? The buses that get us to school? The playgrounds and ballparks we go to after school? The books and computers that help us learn and grow? Animal agriculture provides millions of dollars in tax revenue that pay for our school improvements, that pave the foundation that will build our future. A message from U.S. soybean farmers and their checkoff.
We've been using the Multimin on our donor cows, and after we started using it on them, we've seen a definite increase in grade number 1 embryos. I like the results that I get using Multimin with the AI conception rate.
Their minerals not up to snuff, you're gonna have problems, and I definitely think Multimin is good for, general healthiness of the cattle.
We think Multimin more than pays for itself.
America's ranchers and farmers have had a long-standing commitment to quality, and now the Checkoff-funded Beef Quality Assurance Program is working with you to improve our product for consumers. At bqa.org, you'll find an array of educational materials about BQA. You can also take our online course for BQA certification. BQA, it's a commitment to quality, it's a process for continuous improvement, and it's about doing the right thing.
This segment is brought to you by your Beef Quality Assurance Program, BQA, building consumer trust through your commitment to quality. Learn more at bqa.org.
Hi there and welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson here at the College of Veterinary Medicine. I'm joined once again by Dr. Greg Hanselchek, who is the Director of Food Animal Field Investigation here at the Veterinary Diagnostic Lab at Kansas State's College of Veterinary Medicine. And Greg, we're talking about, the testing of milk and the safety of milk. And on antibiotics, we understand that we need to cut out those residues and then the bacteria and then the somatic cell count. Can you kind of go into a little bit of detail on the relative importance and kind of how we do some of this?
Well, let's start with antibiotics. We all know that there's the perception that antibiotic use in food animals affects human health and antibiotic use in humans. So the dairy industry is very conscious about keeping antibiotics out of the milk supply. So like I said earlier, every single amount of milk that is shipped from any dairy whatsoever is tested for antibiotics.
Is that on the farm then prior to the shipment? Is it as they're transferring it from the bulk tank to our tanker loader?
A sterile sample is collected by the person that drives the milk truck. Okay. Then he takes it back to the processor. The processor usually sends it out to a different lab or may do it in-house. They test for antibiotics, but it's before it gets into the plant.
Okay.
And then if it's adulterated with antibiotics, it's basically got rid of, either down the drain or somewhere else. So.
Okay. So the antibiotics, the bacteria makes perfect sense. We'll make sure that there's no pathogens in our product, which is a unique opportunity that the dairy industry has that others don't have, because you can test right there.
Well, exactly, and that's the feedlots wish they could probably, or the packing plants wish they could do what we do.
Yep, and they're starting to incorporate some of that in the trim now, but it's after processing. Sure. Before all the, it's after cost has been incurred. And then the somatic cell count. What exactly is the somatic cell count?
The somatic cell count is just an overall measure of milk quality, and it's the white blood cells. It's those cells in the milk that are there to fight infection.
So when they're high, what does that mean?
High means we have inflammation or infection in the mammary gland. High is bad, low is good.
Okay, so we want a lower somatic cell count, and today we have legal limits as to the somatic cell count, but really it gets back to, in most part, for a dairyman watching, it's prevention, right?
That's exactly right, and we know that herds with higher somatic cell counts have more clinical mastitis, or that kind of mastitis where the milk looks abnormal or the cow's sick. The other thing is, as the somatic cell count goes up, milk quality, the good things in milk go down. And so processors a lot of times will pay producers a premium for the milk they ship if it's low in somatic cell count.
Because, I mean, there's only so much room in the milk, and if you have the somatic cell counts up, something else has to leave.
That's exactly right.
Well, you know, I think it's interesting. What are the two basic types of mastitis that you deal with clinically?
We lump them into two big groups. One's contagious and one's environmental. And those two terms come from the source. So contagious mastitis are organisms that are spread from cow to cow, usually during the process, the milking process. So we milk a cow in the parlor that's infected with the contagious mastitis. She leaves the parlor, we put that milking unit on the next cow. That's the way we spread contagious mastitis.
Well, I think we'll take a break here. When we come back from break, we're going to talk more with Dr. Hanselchek about mastitis in dairy cows and lowering that somatic cell count. You've been watching DocTalk, and we're sure glad you joined us.
This segment was brought to you by Brute Cattle Equipment, makers of the Brute Stealth Hydraulic Chute. If the chute fits, swear by it. Visit our website for more information. Beef producers need a practical choice when antibiotic therapy is required. More than ever, they are reaching for non-prescription Noromycin 300 LA from Norbrook, specially formulated to produce sustained antibiotic blood levels up to 4 days in cattle. Noromycin 300 LA delivers economic, broad-spectrum disease management for pneumonia, shipping fever, pink eye, wound infections, and foot rot. See for yourself why Norbrook's Noromycin 300 LA is the practical choice for your herd.
Here in Dallas, we're proud that our vehicles use an advanced biofuel called biodiesel. It's made from renewable resources like soybean oil, canola oil, even recycled cooking oil. This year, biodiesel will displace almost 1 billion gallons of fossil fuel nationwide. Our air is cleaner, our economy is stronger, and America's more energy independent. It's working here, it can work in your community. Biodiesel, America's advanced biofuel.
Be ready for breeding soundness exams with Neogen's new and improved ElectroJack 6. Features a new wireless design, improved waterproofing, and more power for quicker and easier collections. Its newly designed probe features a tapered angle for easier insertion, and new rubberized material adds durability. ElectroJack 6 can be used with rams, boars, and bulls of all sizes. To order or for more information, contact Neogen at 800-621-8829 or your local animal health distributor.
This segment is brought to you by Norbrook Laboratories, manufacturers of Noromycin LA, Normectin Plus, 1%, and Poron, the practical choice for your herd. Hi there and welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson here at the College of Veterinary Medicine at Kansas State University, joined once again by Dr. Greg Hanselchek. And Greg, we've been talking about mastitis and we've been talking about somatic cell count and how those are kind of interrelated. And as we went into break, we were talking about contagious forms, or the forms of mastitis that can be transmitted from one cow to another.
That's right.
What are some of the bacteria that we're talking about, or some of the pathogens we're talking about within that type of?
Sure. We're basically only interested in two contagious mastitis. One is an organism called Staph aureus, and the other one is called Mycoplasma bovis.
Okay.
And like I said, they spread from cow to cow. They show up differently in a herd depending on which of those organisms are there.
Sure. And so we're not only, we're making sure that the bacteria themselves are out of the milk supply, but we're making sure that we don't have high somatic cell count due to that infection. What is, for a dairy producer out there, what are the three key areas that you look at, or key principles for preventing this from happening?
For contagious mastitis, it just goes back to how is contagious mastitis spread.
Okay.
Well, it's spread from cow to cow. So we want to concentrate on what goes on in the milking parlor.
Okay.
So it's usually human. So we're talking about correctly prepping those cows, putting on the pre-dip correctly, wiping the pre-dip off, waiting the proper amount of time before the unit is on there, letting the milking unit come off when milk is done, and then post-dipping those cows with an antibacterial to keep those populations of bacteria down.
So basically, when we're talking about pre-dip and post-dip, these are a cleansing solution on the exterior of the udder
That's right.
So we don't get that, and we have the milking machine that we've all seen that goes on the cow, and there's probably some cleaning of that equipment as well between.
Well, certainly they're going to be sprayed off. If they get contaminated with manure or milk or anything like that, those milkers will take a hose and spray those off.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
So sanitation before and after the milkers are placed on the cow is key.
That's right. Contagious mastitis, it really comes down to pre-dip, post-dip, and getting that unit on at the right time. I mean, those three things basically for contagious.
Cool. What about, before we talked about contagious, we were talking about environmental mastitis or environmental causes of mastitis. What exactly is involved with that?
Now we're talking about organisms that are just normally in the cow's environment. So everywhere she lays down or on her hide or everywhere else, these bacteria are there. The main ones we're concerned about, we just kind of lump them into environmental streps, environmental staphs, and then we have we have E. coli and Klebsiella. Those are the four main environmental organisms that we're looking at.
Okay, and these are all bacteria?
They're all a bacteria, that's
okay.
right.
So, when we start thinking about, staphs and streps and E. coli and Klebsiella, these types of things in the environment, how does a dairyman prevent cows from, they're going to lay down?
That's right.
How do we prevent these in the environment?
Well, you're right. They're going to lay down. They're going to defecate where they lay down. Those kind of things. But it's just a matter of keeping that environment as clean as you can. Proper amount of bedding, proper amount of sand in the stalls, proper amount of straw if they're laying down. And as dairy practitioners, we actually go into herds and do what we call a cow cleanliness score. Well, we'll go in there and assess how dirty the back legs of these animals are, and make sure the producers are at a level, because as dirty as the back legs are, so is the udder. So
okay. Well, it makes some sense.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things we do as dairy practitioners to make sure that cow cleanliness is ideal.
And it goes back to stressing the importance of the relationship between the producer and the local practitioner.
That's exactly right. That's very important.
Not just in the health of the animals, but also the somatic cell count and the food safety of the milk being produced.
And that's right. And as dairy practitioners, we know that herds that have high somatic cell counts tend to use more antibiotics. And so that's why progressive dairy veterinarians go out there and do the things like the cow cleanliness score, those kind of things, so that we prevent the mastitis and the high somatic cell count in the first place.
That's great. You're watching DocTalk. We'll be back in a minute. Thanks for joining us.
The Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine is a leader in food animal research and education. Our researchers are constantly expanding the knowledge of animal health and food safety. Through the Veterinary Health Center and the Kansas State Veterinary Diagnostic Lab, we provide practical services for animal producers. Home of the Beef Cattle Institute, the college is committed to animal welfare training and research. The Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine, knowledge and service for the future of animal production.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This is Agriculture Today from Kansas State University. There's been a great lot of debate lately about the use of gestation stalls in hog production. Some major food retailers have taken a firm stance against the practice. However, scientific findings shed a different light on sow comfort when in a gestation stall. Here's K-State swine veterinarian Steve Dreetz.
Physiologically, scientists have tried to measure like stress hormones, and they can actually find no difference between those measures of sows housed in a stall versus those that are housed in a pen or where they have the freedom to move. Scientifically, we've been unable to really find any kind of measure chemical of stress in those animals in the stall.
This is K-State Research and Extension.
Cow-calf, stocker, and feedlot producers know that effective parasite control improves overall herd performance and profitability. Norbrook offers a comprehensive, economical line of pour-on and injectable parasiticides for every livestock operation. Consult with your local animal health supplier to set up a program that protects your investment and brings larger cattle checks this fall. See for yourself why the Noromectin line from Norbrook is the practical choice for your herd.
Hi, I'm Kevin Oxner, host of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman and Colorado Rancher. Join me each week as the National Cattlemen's Beef Association brings you the latest updates in industry information and market news. Plus, each week we provide important educational information and features on cattlemen from across the country just like you. And we can't forget our favorite cowboy poet, Baxter Black. Join me for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, debuting Tuesday nights at 8:30 Eastern, right here on RFD TV.
Got cattle? Rotomix manufactures a complete line of energy-efficient rotary and vertical feed mixers for feedlots, beef production, dairy, and cow-calf operations. Our mixers are available with the patented Generation 2 staggered rotor, the industry standard for feeding wet rations that include wet distiller's grain. Made in the USA, Rotomix mixers are designed for feeding performance that American cattlemen and dairy producers have come to expect. Rotomix, proud to offer a better mix in less time using less fuel.
This segment is brought to you by Purple Wave Auction, the easiest, most straightforward way to sell used equipment. Purple Wave, straight, simple, sold. Welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson here from the College of Veterinary Medicine at Kansas State University, joined by Dr. Greg Hanselcheck. Greg, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, and it's really been some good information about the dairy industry and about not only how the milk is safe, but how we work day to day to prevent it from becoming contaminated or something we don't want.
The dairy industry is an awesome industry. I mean, like I said earlier, we have one of the safest milks in the world, or safest foods in the world is milk. And that's because we can test for antibiotics, we can test for milk quality, we can do all those things before the processor sends it out to the human consumption.
And then you have the processing after that.
That's exactly right. The pasteurization helps. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So in the discussion, I thought it was really key that we touched on, whenever we talk about how do we make food safe, going through the steps and some of the things that we're trying to keep out of the milk supply when we talked about the different forms of mastitis.
And that's important, and for mastitis, it's all about prevention. I mean, we want to concentrate, both as a dairy practitioner and producer, prevent mastitis, prevent those high somatic cell counts from ever occurring in the first place.
Yeah, and I thought it was, it looks like clean, 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 clean was the key.
That's right. Clean cows and proper milking procedure. It sounds simple. It's not simple to do, but,
yeah, well,
but it sounds simple.
Well, and I look at just my car, okay? Keeping it sounds like it'd be simple to keep clean, but I think it's important to understand that the dairymen understand the importance that they play on a day-to-day basis of providing our country and beyond a safe, edible product.
They do. It's a really special part of our animal agriculture, are the dairymen.
Well, that's Dr. Greg Hanselcheck, and he is the Director of Production Animal Field Investigation here at the Veterinary Diagnostic Laboratory at Kansas State University. We've sure enjoyed having you on the show. We've learned a lot today about how our milk is safe, how we test our milk for antimicrobial residues and bacteria to make sure those aren't entering the food supply, and how we use somatic cell counts, not only from the standpoint of food safety, but also the health of the animals. If you want to learn more about what Dr. Hanselcheck and I do here at the College of Veterinary Medicine, you can find us on the web at www.vet.ksu.edu. Remember, always work with a local practitioner. You've been watching DocTalk today. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson. We sure appreciate you spending your time with us, and we'll see you down the road. Hi there, I'm Dr. Dan from DocTalk. Join me next week as we discuss the implementation of beef quality assurance on your farm or ranch. I'll be joined by Dr. Dave Sklocha from Cattle Empire down in Santana, Kansas. We're going to discuss the implementation of the beef quality assurance program, its welfare assessment tool, and how that relates to consumer confidence. Find out how it began, the objective of the plan, and how well producers are buying in. Join us here on RFD TV, Mondays at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'll see you down the road.
For more information about this program or previous programs, go to DocTalkTV.com. DocTalk was brought to you by Multimin USA, manufacturers of Multimin 90, sure trace mineral supplementation by timed injection.
We've been using Multimin for about 7 years. It's one of the most multi-use products that we have here on the farm. Bulls, cows, calves, weaning age cattle, just about everything on the place. If they go through the chute, they get a shot of it. The primary use that we started Multimin was in our donor program, in our embryo transplant program. I'd recommend Multimin to any producer in the cattle business. Here at Deer Valley, every animal that goes through the chute gets a dose of Multimin.